You're watching Reality Check. After India's best ever medal tally in the Olympics, our Olympic heroes are home. And it's almost been like a carnival-like welcome that began as they entered the country, Delhi airport, and extended well into the evening. They deserve every second of the attention and the adulation. Tonight we focus on the heroes behind the heroes, so to speak. India's small but rapidly growing network that supports those chasing Olympic dreams. These initiatives are all the more noteworthy given the asymmetry between cricket and non-cricket sports. Remember, while 7 medals is a big deal for us and must be celebrated, look at where we rank globally when it comes to the medal tally. We are at number 48. Ahead of us, of course, are all the big guns, USA, China, Japan, and so on. Then we come down to Brazil, Kenya, Romania, and Venezuela. Higher in terms of goals, lower overall. Then India, we're just barely above Hong Kong and the Philippines. Overall, we've only won 35 medals, 35 Olympic medals since the start of the Olympics. And this is the global medal tally, if one looks at it, starting all the way from 1896 to the present. Again, the big guns are obviously USA with over 2,000 medals, Great Britain 900, Germany 770, France 750, China 634, all the way coming down to Brazil and Kenya and Iran and Ethiopia are above us, and then comes India. Now, sports remains a vastly underfunded enterprise for a size of the country like India, even though the sports budget has seen an increase. In the past 10 years, the sports budget has more than doubled. The budget has jumped from 1,200 crores to 2,600 crores between 2013 versus 2021-22. But India's sports budget is only 0.01% of GDP. This is what the chart looks like of how the sports budget has increased. As I mentioned, from 1,200, it's more than doubled over the years to 2,600, with a little dip in the middle, but that's still quite small. How does the world compare? How does the world fund sports? There have been some calculations done of what an average Olympic medal costs to particular countries. In America, it costs anywhere between 60 lakhs to 23 crores is what they spend on one medal. That's between 89,000 to about $3.5 million. In Great Britain, one calculation found they spend 38 crore on one medal, 4.5 million GBP, pounds. And how much are countries spending on sports? China, for instance, spending about 4,400 crores, $651 million, about double of what we're spending. Australia, rupees 1,800 crores, $272 million. Of course, much smaller than us, but a sports budget not that far off from ours. All right, joining us tonight, we have a fantastic panel of both our sporting stars as well as those who've been working behind the scenes to support them. We have Aditi Ashok with us, Olympic golfer. Great to have you, Aditi Ashok. We have Shagun Chaudhary, Olympic shooter, first woman to represent at the Olympics, shotgun, Asian Games medalist, Asian shotgun medalist. Deepti Bopaya is executive director of the Go Sports Foundation. She's a former sports person herself. Go Sports has on the board of advisors people like Rahul Dravid and P. Gopichand. They support Kamalpreet Kaur, Bhavani Devi, Olympic fencer, Netra Kumanan, a sailor. Sharda Ugra, of course, a senior cricket journalist. Great to have you. And Mustafa Ghaus is there, CEO JSW Sports, Jindal Southwest. They also run this foundation. Neeraj Chopra is trained there, Bajrang Punia, Sakshi Malik, Vikas Yadav, who's who of sports have trained there. Great to have all of you on board. Aditi Ashok, let me start with you, by the way. And again, just congratulations, Aditi Ashok, for going at, you went as far as the distance one can go in the Olympics. But tell me, Aditi, because as someone who's in a different spectrum, not, all these sports outside of cricket, golf, I know, does get some amount of funding and attention. But how much was it a challenge to get support and get resources to compete at the global level for you?
Yeah, I think it is pretty hard for a golfer, especially in India where the sport is not very big. And you have to play I mean, you can grow up in India, play junior golf, but at some point you have to play internationally because that's where the better competition and the world ranked tournaments are. So I think growing up, my parents had to make a lot of sacrifices to, get me to those international tournaments. And it was a lot of individual effort. You can't really wait for people to do things for you or people to help you. At some point, you have to take initiative and you have to make yourself play the right tournaments at the right time,
so
growing up especially.
So let me understand this. So are you saying that all your travel, your training, the equipment was all funded yourself? I mean, as in family or?
Yeah, pretty much. I think I did represent India a few times where the Indian Golf Union did, support me and pay me for those trips and bought my flight and stuff like that. And here and there, a little bit in terms of coaching or just here and there. But I think the majority of what I did, especially to get into the Olympics in 2016, because back then I was 18 years old, so I had just finished my junior and amateur career. So yeah,
right.
A lot of that was on my own because, an amateur body wouldn't want to spend money on an amateur to play a pro tournament. And the pro body said, we can't spend money on you because you're not a professional.
Okay.
So me getting to the Olympics in 2016 was a real, it was a difficult task, and I had to kind of build the next door and then open it and then build another one and open it again.
That's amazing. You're not just competing to compete at that level of sport, you're also fighting to support and fund that journey. Are you now seeing sponsors approaching you?
Currently, no, except for maybe equipment. I don't really have a sponsor, but I think golf is maybe one of the slightly better off sports, because we play for prize money every week, and I do have a lot of tournaments in the year. So right now I don't have any sponsors, but yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, all the more credible, frankly. But Deepti Bopaiah, this is the challenge, yes? I mean, it's so wonderful that you are backing Kamalpreet Kaur and others, but it's not easy if you're a non-cricket athlete or sports person in this country. How are you managing to fund these people, and how much support are you able to give them?
Yeah, thank you so much. Aditi, first of all, congratulations. We're so proud of you, all of us. What you've done is incredible. We're really proud of you.
Bangalore, by the way, Bangalore to Bangalore. So there's that.
Bangalore to Bangalore, yeah. And we also work with a lot of golfers. So, with Chikka Rangappa and some of the younger ones as well, but would love to work with Aditi as well.
There you go. We've got a real time. It's just
in terms of
pitch. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Funding. In terms of funding, I think what has really changed is since 2013, the corporate social responsibility mandate had come in. The CSR funds where they could support training towards Olympic and Paralympic sport, at least for organizations like us. That was really a big turning point, because otherwise it was really difficult. We were a bunch of passionate people going to friends and family and trying to raise funds because we believed that there is so much talent in India and there is so much that we can do at the world stage. So
you're getting funds from corporate social responsibility, CSR. Corporates are giving you a portion of that. Is that one of the main kind of sources of funds?
Probably 80% of our funding comes from CSR, and these are some of the largest corporates like the Aditya Birla Capital or IndusInd Bank, Sony Pictures. They all are building, thinking about nation building through sport. And you also have companies like JSW, which has built a fantastic setup and world-class facility. So I think what's really changed is, one, there is a little bit of money that's come into sport, and two, all the key stakeholders are working together. I think that's been one big change. So
when it comes to, when on your website we saw you support people like Kamalpreet Kaur, who's discus thrower, and Bhavani Devi, interesting, fencer, Olympic fencer. I mean, who would have thought, right? India competing in fencing. What are you able to do for them? You're helping them fund that, like training, equipment, travel?
Yeah. all of that. Bhavani is a very interesting story, actually. Rahul Dravid challenged us, saying you need to find unique sports which don't get mainstream funding and find girls who are doing really well. So at Rio, we had Deepa Karmakar, who we worked with. And, now we have Bhavani Devi, Kamal Preet. We look at kayaking. We're looking at alternate sports where you can get one athlete to do really well. And, then there's going to be a whole generation of youngsters who pick up that sport. And look at everyone talking about fencing now. So in terms of support, yes, we do give them access to training. Bhavani's coaching at Italy for almost 6-8 months. Obviously, with the government, with the TOP scheme and with Sports Authority of India, like I said, everyone's working together now. So there's a lot of collaboration happening on that front.
That's fantastic. Mustafa Ghaus, again, I mean, great job with JSW Sports. We'll try and even play some of those videos. We have everyone seems to be going through you've got this huge training facility, I believe, in Bellary in North Karnataka, right? And again, you've been doing this now for a while?
Yeah, so we set up the sports program in 2012. This is after the London Olympics, which was till a couple of days ago India's best ever Olympics. From our perspective, the problem statement that we're really looking to solve is that, primarily Indian athletes between the ages of 12 and 18 are getting lost. They are extremely talented, but for multiple reasons between the very important foundation phase of their career, they don't get the right guidance. They don't get financial support. They don't get technical support. They may have medical and injury challenges which are not addressed in the right manner. And we felt that not everyone can afford to go abroad and get this type of input. For us, building a facility in India which would be able to cater to many, many more of these young kids was where we felt there was a big gap, and that's why we went about to build the Inspire Institute of Sport. We have 200 athletes there right now, training, studying, getting access to the best in class, whether you're talking about sports science support, nutrition, training, and these coaches are from all over the world. So from our perspective, being able to give this support at the right age of 12 to 18 is where we feel we're going to make a big difference in the years to come.
That's amazing. And already look at Neeraj Chopra and all these people. But it's fantastic, Sharda Ugra. Like I said in my introduction, we've got 7 medals. That's great. But again, given that there's been all this support, it's been building up. But 7 medals for a country of our size, something is still, it's, we need a wake-up call as well. So,
Srinivasan, I must object to the fact that you called me a cricket journalist at the start. I'm a sports journalist. Yeah.
Yes, I don't know why. Sorry. I just read out I think we have a descriptor in our system, and I just read it out. But obviously, you're much beyond cricket. So I take that back.
Mustafa and Deepti will sort of back me on this. No, what you're saying is right. 7 medals are not a massive number. It should have been, according to my ambition, about 20. But what I'm saying is that we have only just in the last, say, 10 odd years changed the way we work with our elite athletes, and that has happened because of 3 reasons, let's say. A legal sports code has come into play that puts certain onus on federations to run better, to present accounts. There is government money. It doesn't mean that government money is not there. And only in India can you have organizations like Go Sports and OGQ and JSW Sports, for the simple reason that the federations, the sports federations, whether it's shooting, athletics, rowing, whatever, they don't do what they're supposed to do for their athletes. So the organizations that have come up have literally, it's sort of like they said, let us be the jugaad that'll speed things up for athletes.
Right.
And all the sort of the hurdles that you find in the way, it's the job of, say, JSW's facility. I've been to that facility in Bellary. It is spectacular. I mean, there is nothing like it I've seen in India. It is absolutely cutting edge and modern. And like Mustafa said, they're looking at younger athletes in a very simple
Mustafa is thrilled.
So, but there needs to be a lot more. Energy coming from the sports federations themselves as to how they use their money. Hockey actually is a prime example. They had a plan set up, and that's how they were able to get all these. They have the hockey team play in this way with the kind of coaching that they got in. They put in money, put in energy, whatever else you can say about it.
Sure.
You know, Neeraj Chopra is a one-off. We have taken about 70 or 80 athletes to the Olympics this time. And you're going to find that instead of the younger athletes getting encouraged to turn up at World Championships, Asian Games, to have a proper path for them, it's all random. So Neeraj Chopra is a one-off. We had a team in 2004, a 4x400 meter women's relay team that made the final of the Athens Olympics. They finished 7th. We don't know what happened to that team since then. We don't know why we didn't have the best mixed relay 4x400 meter
so it's kind of right. So I see where you're coming from. You made some very important points. About this huge gap between what the state is supposed to be doing and the reality.
Not the state. The federations.
The federations, yeah. Okay, the federations.
The state gives. The state gives a lot of money.
Sure. The federations. When I said the state, I by extension, because many of them are kind of government supported or government run, which is being filled by these.
They are politician supported.
Politician supported, right? And between.
Sort of buffered up.
Right. Yeah. And that's being filled by these different agencies.
The ministry provides the money, but the federations, it kind of gets lost. So the organizations like JSW and like Go Sports and OGQ, and they channelize that money in a more efficient way with elite athletes.
Okay. So OGQ, for those who don't know, is Olympic Gold Quest, which was founded by Geet Sethi, Prakash Padukone, amongst others, and they've supported Mary Kom and so many others. But we also have with us Vinil Krishna, who's Secretary Sports Odisha, and we know Odisha has done wonderful stuff. I'll come to you, Vinil, in just a second. Let me just go across to Shagun Chaudhary, Olympic shooter. Shagun, so how much of a challenge was it for you also? Because, just listening to what Aditi and others were saying, did you have to again fund a lot of your own training and equipment and your journey yourself, or how did that work?
So first of all, I would like to congratulate Aditi. You've made all of us so proud, and you gave a crash course to the entire country over those 4 days. And it wasn't just your friends who were just watching you compete. It was all of us. So I assure you that. And we were rooting for you till the last hole. But, I echo Aditi's thoughts, because it's the same thing that happened with me. There had been no precedence of a woman competing in clay pigeon shooting at the Olympics. So there was no, I basically had to fund international exposure, as Aditi rightly put, is extremely important, because how do you see yourself competing on international, or how do you rate yourself?
Sure.
If you're not out there competing with other athletes and say whether you're going to do it. All these organizations are fabulous, but I think the timing is a little off. They have noticed Aditi today.
Okay.
Go Sports is talking about Aditi today and saying that we will fund you today. But where were they about? No offense meant. But all I'm saying is, all these agencies, we have to win an international medal, we have to make an international appearance,
that's true.
And we are noticed.
But Shagun, just a second. I just want to stick to that point. So you had to fund your journey pretty much yourself?
Absolutely. If I didn't, it is a very simple thing. You have to make it to the Indian team. If you're made it to the Indian team, then you are funded for World Cups and everything. But any extra training that I needed to do with my personal coach was funded by myself. I only got funding after I won the Olympic quota for the Olympics.
Okay. So it took all that way. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it's pretty much the same thing.
Okay, Vinil Krishna, again, it's just, I know we've reported quite a lot on this, but it's still worth people who may have missed it to hear this again. Now, from what I understand, Odisha jumped into hockey a big way once Sahara pulled out of the sponsorship, right? That's when you got in and you built a fabulous stadium. You've had I think the Hockey World Cup. You've had at least one edition, if not more.
Right.
You've taken over the team more or less.
Yeah, that's right. People have been talking about the Odisha model, but Odisha model is not just about sponsorships, it's about partnerships.
Okay.
In fact, Mustafa is here. We have a partnership with JSW for swimming, and
Okay.
that's coming out really well. So with hockey, we have this partnership with the Hockey India, and it's not something that has started in 2018 once their Sahara's term has ended.
Okay.
It is something that has built over a period of time, and it all comes from the vision of Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik, his love for hockey on one side, but at the same time, the love of people of Odisha for hockey. They are really crazy about hockey in certain parts of our state, and
I know.
honoring their wishes. CM had also wanted
But
to
in
support-
material, in specific terms, just tell us how. So you underwrite pretty much the hockey team's budget, or give us the brass tacks.
No, it's a combination of things. That's what I'm trying to clarify. That it's not just about writing a check. It's about providing that comprehensive support in partnership with Hockey India. And Hockey India has also been doing very well since so many last decade. So you are seeing the result of that decade today in Olympics, but a lot of efforts have gone in over a period of time. So our partnership with Hockey India is beyond just the sponsorship. That's only one part of the story.
Sure.
So as you rightly said, we have organized the Hockey World Cup. We have organized so many other tournaments, including the Olympic qualifiers and World Leagues and so on and so forth. So in all these things, we take care of the entire headache from the Hockey India to conduct these events. So
That's
that
amazing.
Hockey India can focus on the game, they can focus on the team, they can focus on the upcoming championships and strategize accordingly.
Right.
And this is something that has built over a year. I can't really say that this is something that we'll do with any other federation.
Right.
But this is a relationship that has developed and it has grown really wonderfully well.
I think, Sharda, if I'm not mistaken, Odisha is the only state to have done this, right? Which is supporting like a team.
Yes.
I don't think any others.
Yes.
No.
And Odisha has become literally the focus of international hockey virtually. It's everyone, all the international players want to come and play there because they have a super facility. The crowds pack in.
Right.
It's literally a sort of I haven't been, but I've watched it on TV and it looks spectacular. Sorry,
And,
Mustafa, what to say?
you wanted to come in.
Yeah, I think if you
Mustafa.
really want to talk about the way forward, yes, there is a huge importance of corporates coming and getting involved with CSR contributions, but it's also huge for other states to really emulate the way Odisha has addressed their desire to see sport grow in India. Yes, we all talk about what they're doing for hockey, but give it a few years and you'll see the results of their swimming program, their athletics program,
Wow.
their shooting program, you name it. There are a whole host of
And
stuff
that's so-
happening.
And that's so nice to see a center of gravity shift to a state like Odisha, because you have a bunch of talent and facilities concentrated up in the north, Haryana and Punjab, that belt. And then in the south, you've got Hyderabad and Bangalore. Just look at the number of people on our panel who are from Bangalore, have a Karnataka connection. There's you, Mustafa, there's Aditi, Ashok. Earlier we had
I'm in Bombay.
Deepthi
I have
Bopaya.
no connect.
I'm in Bangalore.
That's what I'm saying. Mustafa, your setup is in Karnataka. So that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
I just want to ask you very quickly, Shagun and Aditi, in the end, because so much of the game changed with cricket because there was so much commercial interest, so much money came in, sponsorship, ads, all of that. We're seeing that with some people, like with Sindhu now is, I think, kind of hitting that league with badminton. But are you seeing any signs of that at all, Shagun, with other sports like shooting or?
First, I think when the women's hockey team was playing the Olympics, everybody was pretty much had switched on that channel, and not when India was playing the Cricket World Cup or whatever they were playing. I don't even know.
Right.
So the idea is basically that let's start the conversation.
Right.
Let's not let the Olympics finish. people stop talking about the athletes. People lose interest. Is basically to put them on the forefront and keep talking, keep the conversation going. And that's the only way. Visibility, interest. That's the only way that you're going to get sponsors. You're going to get media attention and more people interested in sport.
Aditi, you agree?
Yeah, I think in terms of golf, for example, you can just have a few balls or a mat in schools, once a week, twice a month or something, and introduce kids to golf, because awareness, if after that they want to try and go to a golf club and pick it up, that's always an option. And that's how you grow the sport. It's hard work, but that's, I think, what a sport like golf needs. And I want to touch upon a couple other things you mentioned. For example, you said funding by the government and stuff. For example, they do have the top scheme, but now I'm a golfer and the top scheme kind of comes into effect only after you qualify, and we qualify a month before the games. So in 1 month, I can't possibly have, I don't even have the tournaments or anything that they need me to spend, that money on. So sometimes I feel the tops is not designed for golfers.
Right.
And secondly, foundations, yes, they do a lot of good stuff. And I think it's great to have those independent from the government. But like I reached out to a foundation, one of the ones you mentioned, and they said, yeah, we're watching you for the Olympics and stuff. And one Olympics came and went, and then the second one's here, and they're like, okay, yeah, we're still watching you. And, it never really goes from there. So now if they approach me, I've kind of moved on, so that's another thing. And also you spoke about the budget that countries have, for example, to spend in sports. Now, this is just a very personal issue I had. Most of the golfers were staying in a hotel near the golf course, whereas the Olympic Village was approximately 75 kilometers from there, which is a 1.5 hour drive. And now I had to play at 8:18 in the morning, and I need to warm up for an hour and a half. I need to eat breakfast a couple hours before. And how do you do that when you stay another hour and a half away? So I had like a 2:45 a.m. alarm. And I'm going to, there's already a lot of things I got to deal with, like the fact that I don't hit as long as the rest of the girls, or the fact that I'm not world number one and I'm going to play with world number one in that day. But, these kind of things, when you say, yes, there's a lot of budget, but I don't know who is responsible or anybody is, but I should have been staying, I feel, closer to the golf course. Maybe I would have not won a medal. Maybe I would have had the same chance of winning a medal, but I would say that would have helped.
Yeah. No, at least you're on the level playing field. I'm really glad you made these points. By the way, when I said there's a lot of money, I actually said we're still grossly underfunding sports. It's just that it's gone up compared to the past, but it's still very little money. But thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, all of you, for joining us. And this is so important to hear this, because you get so frustrated when you see politicians rush to take credit when really it's not about the photo op, it's about how much support you can actually offer. But thank you all so much for joining us on Reality Check and for watching. Good night.